Okay. Hello, my name is Koubra Haggar, and I'm a Ward 3 resident. I'm here because I'm deeply concerned about my neighbors who continue to be neglected by this council. Shelters are full, and people are dying this winter. People will die in the summer. There have been numbers put out by the city mid last year stating that about 15% of unhoused residents that were interacted with were housed. Not only is that a negligible amount, claiming to transition people into housing when the housing market makes that impossible is absurd. This system makes housing impossible to retain. And I'm wondering if Councillor Farr actually believes what he says when mentioning that the city has housed 1,000 unhoused people this year, when we all know that that's not the case. Where did this happen? When did this happen? And if it's an actual statistic, I wonder how it was counted. Does every time a person get a hotel room for a night get counted as someone being housed? Figures from the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation do not reflect the market value, what market people are coming into. All so-called affordable housing is housing that's already occupied. The average housing cost for a one-bedroom home on the market in Hamilton is $1,500. The average housing cost for a two-bedroom home is almost over $1,700. Housing is a human right and is a basic need that must be met by governing bodies. Housing must be free. Poor and unhoused folks are dealing with the brunt of the systemic failure to house people. When an issue is systemic, the responsibility lies on the system to correct it. You are the system. The solutions are clear. We know what needs to happen. For example, police operate on a huge budget, funding projects that police officers are just unqualified to do. By the way, and I'm putting it out there, that frankly, I'm not interested in hearing about conflicts of interest from councillors just because I mentioned police, as if the police and its budget isn't intrinsically tied to council and council decisions. Councillors have previously mentioned detasking the police. Well, newsflash, detasking equals defunding. And if funding went towards community and organizations geared towards providing essential supports, such as housing, addiction supports, mental health supports, and so forth, do you really think, even if you are a believer of the violent policing system that currently exists, that funding the police would be necessary? There's a clear example of what can happen when you overfund and increasingly invest in resources. The fact that I can call 911 and get an answer literally within seconds and have a cop show up within minutes, that have waited hours to see a doctor, have waited months to talk to mental health professionals, and have called shelters that are just continuously full, speaks to what's possible. We see what's possible when the Energy Council puts we see what's possible with the Energy Council puts into funding a violent institution. How different would things look if this much energy and passion was put into funding housing or community supports? We're here year after year begging for change, begging for the funding of resources that the community actually needs. What is it going to take for our concerns, for our asks as residents of the city to be considered? Presenting numbers or writing reports does not reflect the realities that people are actually living. Tangible, sustainable, accessible, and dignified solutions are crucial. There are experts in the city, experts who've spoken to these issues time and time again, who are presenting compelling alternatives to what is currently being offered. People with lived experiences who have made countless cries for help. Listen to that. Nothing about an over 6,000 person waitlist for city housing screams a livable and accessible city. There aren't many places where you find residents continuously showing up, creating PowerPoints, and speaking from the heart about issues that actually matter, issues that are often life or death. People die. No more reports, no more data collection. It's all a distraction. We know what needs to be done. You know what needs to be done. No more band aid solutions that don't address the root cause of the issue. The city's governing body has the resources, but does not have the courage to imagine something different. So, this is an invitation to consider which funding allocations will provide tangible solutions to the most vulnerable populations in the city. And I'm asking, where's your shame and where's your empathy?